Back at CES, when Sony unveiled their concept prototype car, I remember a lot of YouTubers bringing up that, well, hey, if Sony's capable of making a car, why doesn't Apple make one? And this has actually been in the back of Apple's mind for a long time, because for years now, they've referred to a secret project that's not really a well-kept secret, because it's called Project Titan, and I remember first hearing about this years ago, and since then we've seen lots of different patents from Apple for a vehicle of sorts with redesigned door frames, and of course autonomous driving technology. And given Apple is $1.5 trillion company, they definitely have the cash on hand to basically go into any field they want. And in the past, Apple chairmen have referred to the car as the ultimate mobile product, as there's definitely a lot of disruption in this field to expect in the next decade. It's not too out there to imagine that a smartphone company could potentially go into the electric vehicle market. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking of, well, why doesn't Apple just buy out Tesla? And the interesting part is you're not the first one to have that idea. In fact, back in 2013, Apple actually did try to buy Tesla for much more than what they were worth at the time, but rumors are that Apple basically wanted Elon Musk out of the picture and wanted to take over the company with their own chairman, and Tesla was not having that. They weren't interested in a buyout, and frankly, I'm glad they didn't go for a buyout, because I think it'd be far more interesting to see what Tesla does on their own. They don't need help from a $1 trillion company buying them out and providing them with a ton of cash flow. So given Apple probably has numerous moonshot projects that may never see the light of day, I still have full faith that there's a lot of behind the scenes work going on for an Apple-made electric vehicle, but there's a high chance we may never see that unveiled. Apple typically these days does not like showcasing things that they don't plan on bringing to market very quickly. So I don't imagine Apple pulling what Sony did and just saying, hey, we're not even planning on selling this car, but this just gives you an idea of how our technology can be implemented into an autonomous vehicle. They're not the type of company to do that. Sony, I would definitely say, is more so, but a lot of people are quick to imagine that, well, you see, it's way too late in the game because Tesla is far ahead of competition, both with battery technology, autonomous driving data, and their motors. They've been making electric cars for a long time, so there's no way Apple could potentially catch up, which for the most part, I agree with you. I think Tesla's years ahead of the closest competitor, especially when it comes to power efficiency and their motors, not to mention what I think is their biggest advantage is the supercharging network. But Tesla has said for a price they'd be willing to share that out to other companies if they were willing to work with them on that. If Apple actually wanted to enter the market and make a compelling EV, it would make a lot of sense that they could partner with Tesla and have access to the supercharging network. And the important thing to remember is Tesla all started simply because they just burned through a lot of cash for years and years on both research and development, on next-gen batteries, on factories, and that's what got them where they are today. And Apple is a company with a ton of cash on hand. If they wanted to build their own factory and they wanted to build their own electric car project and even their own charging stations and start even retrofitting Apple stores to accommodate a vehicle in the center of them, they technically have the capital to do that. I think the main reason they probably aren't, though, is because if you look at Tesla's history, creating electric vehicles is not a quick turnaround profit for most companies. In fact, the main reason there's a lot of traditional automakers that are hesitant with adopting electric vehicles is because outside of the demand for Teslas, there's not actually that much growth in the EV space. Tesla sales are doing really great and they're increasing year over year, but outside of them, those traditional brands are not seeing much growth in that segment. And a lot of companies have said they're not really gonna go all in on electric vehicles until they're sure there's a good enough demand for them that they won't lose too much money on them. Apple's probably well aware of this, and their focus right now is definitely more on services, things like Apple TV Plus, the Apple Card, Apple Arcade, and Apple News Plus, because they know they have huge fan bases with nearly 1.5 billion Apple authenticated devices that are all eligible for these services they're pushing so much. You see their ads on Twitter, they're always advertising it on their website. Services in the long run is probably going to cost a lot less than starting up an electric car division, and with their stock doing fairly well as of lately, that's probably going to keep shareholders happy, knowing that services and revenue are increasing and that they don't have to drastically increase their spending habits because those services are all pretty much software based and they just have to add that software to the devices they're already shipping, and of course they're shipping a ton. So the short answer of today's video is simply that they could, and I still definitely think it's a possibility, though I wouldn't say it's likely, because electric cars are still a very risky business to get into. They do not turn around quick, and Apple's shareholders would probably be a little bit concerned if a company with this much capital at this size just started investing billions of dollars into an electric car project, both for mass producing them, where are they buying their batteries from, them? Are they partnering with Tesla on this supercharging network? In which case, does kind of put the electric car buyer in an awkward position. If you're driving the Apple car, but you're charging at the Tesla station, what does that say about the vehicle you drive? And I do personally doubt that they would be able to match the prices that Tesla is offering for both the Model 3, the Model Y. If Apple were to enter the electric car space, they would more than likely make something like the Porsche Taycan, where it's just all built around luxury and really, really premium materials. And it's still very smart and it's eco-friendly because Apple does care about that side of their business. It would just not be a very affordable vehicle, and they would likely not care about making a ton of them. They would be fairly low quantity in production. But man, I love entertaining the idea because it would be fascinating to see a giant company like Apple that seems to share, when it comes to software and their ideologies for how tech should work, a lot of similarities with Tesla. A lot of people using their iPhone and iPad have a very easy transition over to Tesla's OS. So it would be fascinating to see how Apple would differentiate themselves and how they would embrace the autonomous driving support in the charging systems. I really want it to happen. Let me be clear on that. I want Apple to get into the electric car space because what they've been doing lately is just, pushing services extra hard and, incremental updates with their iPhones, which seem to be selling pretty well despite them not being super innovative. They get the job done and they're catering to what most people are asking for. But if they took some risks actually and started disrupting the market that is already extremely interesting, it would be fascinating to see what type of competition Tesla would have to roll out with, or what moves Apple would take in order to compete with the big EV developers. But let me know what you guys think of Apple making their own electric car. Do you think it's a stupid idea, or would you be fascinated to see how the market could change once you have giant tech companies also competing with these new automotive startups? Let me know what you're thinking down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.